Some moments change your life forever without warning. One minute you're rushing through another ordinary day, and the next you're lying in an emergency room, wondering if everything is about to fall apart. I thought I was there because of an accident. I never imagined I was about to come face to face with the one person I had never truly forgotten. When she leaned closer to check my chart, her eyes suddenly filled with emotion. Then, almost in a whisper, she smiled and asked, "Do you remember me?" At that moment, 20 years disappeared in a heartbeat, and a story of kindness that began in high school found its way back to us. Before we begin, welcome to Soul Touch Tales. If stories about kindness, second chances, and unforgettable moments touch your heart, please subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment telling us about someone whose kindness changed your life. Your support helps us share more inspiring stories every week. My name is Ethan Brooks. I'm 33 years old and the proud father of my 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Ever since my wife passed away 5 years ago, life had become a careful balance of work, parenting, and trying to stay strong. I worked as a delivery driver, and although the pay wasn't great, it was enough to keep a roof over our heads and a smile on Lily's face. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, everything changed. A truck suddenly swerved into my lane. I slammed on the brakes, but my van spun into a guardrail. The airbag exploded in front of me. My head hurt, my shoulder burned, and everything became blurry. The ambulance rushed me to the emergency room. As nurses surrounded me, checking my injuries, one doctor stepped into the room. She looked confident, calm, and focused. She wore a white coat with a hospital badge that read, Dr. Emma Carter. She looked about 34 years old, with chestnut brown hair neatly tied back, kind hazel eyes, and the quiet confidence of someone who had spent years helping others. She examined my shoulder, asked a few questions, then suddenly paused. She looked directly into my face. Her expression softened. Then she quietly whispered, "Ethan, do you remember me?" I blinked through the pain. Then it hit me. "Emma." She smiled. "The same Emma who sat behind you in chemistry class." I couldn't believe it. Emma Carter had been my high school crush. Back then, she was the smartest girl in school. Everyone knew she'd become successful one day. I was too shy to tell her how much I admired her. We graduated, life took us in different directions, and I never saw her again. Now she stood beside my hospital bed. Life truly worked in mysterious ways. After reviewing my scans, Emma smiled reassuringly. "You've got a broken collarbone and a few bruises. It looks scary, but you're going to be okay." For the first time since the accident, I felt like I could breathe again. While the nurses prepared my treatment, Emma stayed nearby. She asked about my life. When I mentioned Lily, her face brightened. "You have a daughter?" I nodded proudly. "She's my whole world." Emma smiled warmly. "I'd love to meet her." A few hours later, my sister brought Lily to the hospital. The moment Lily walked into the room, she rushed over and hugged me carefully. "Daddy, I was so scared." Emma knelt beside her. "Your dad is going to be just fine." Lily looked up nervously. "Are you the doctor who fixed him?" Emma laughed softly. "I'm one of them." Lily reached into her backpack and pulled out a small handmade friendship bracelet. "My teacher says we should always thank people who help others." She handed it to Emma. The bracelet was simple, made from colorful string. But Emma stared at it as though it were priceless. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'll treasure this." Over the next 2 days, Emma checked on me whenever she could. Despite being one of the hospital's busiest emergency physicians, she somehow always found a few minutes to stop by. One evening, while Lily colored pictures beside my bed, Emma sat quietly near the window. "You know," she said softly, "you changed my life once." I looked confused. "I did." She nodded. "In high school, everyone thought I had everything figured out." She smiled sadly. "But my dad had lost his job. We were struggling. I almost quit school because I couldn't afford college applications." I stared in surprise. "I never knew." "You weren't supposed to." She continued. "One afternoon, someone anonymously paid for my application fees." I smiled. "I remember helping organize a fundraiser." Emma nodded. "I found out years later that you were the one who convinced your teacher to use the extra money for me instead of announcing where it went." I laughed quietly. It wasn't a big deal. Emma looked directly at me. "It was to me." She paused. "That single act of kindness changed my future." Tears filled my eyes. I honestly forgot. I never did. A week later, I returned home with my arm in a sling. Recovery wasn't easy. Driving was impossible for several weeks. Bills began piling up. I worried constantly about supporting Lily. Then one morning, someone knocked on my door. Outside stood Emma. She wasn't wearing her white coat today. Instead, she carried several grocery bags. I figured you could use a little help. I smiled awkwardly. You didn't have to. I know. She smiled. But kindness isn't about having to. Over the following weeks, she checked on us often. Sometimes she brought dinner. Sometimes she helped Lily with homework. Other times she simply sat on the porch while we talked about life, dreams, and all the years we'd missed. Lily quickly grew attached to her. One evening she whispered to me, "Daddy, Dr. Emma is really nice." I smiled. Yes. She reminds me of Mom. Those words caught me completely off guard. Months later, after my shoulder healed, I returned to work. Life slowly became normal again. One Saturday, Emma invited Lily and me to a community health fair where she volunteered every year. Instead of standing behind a desk giving speeches, she spent hours helping children, comforting elderly patients, and listening patiently to every person who needed encouragement. Watching her that day reminded me that true success isn't measured by job titles or wealth. It's measured by how many lives you gently lift along the way. As the sun set, Emma looked at me and smiled. You know what I've learned? What? The smallest act of kindness can travel through someone's entire life and someday find its way back home. I looked at Lily laughing nearby. Then I looked at Emma. She was right. Years earlier, I had helped someone without expecting anything in return. Now, during one of the hardest seasons of my life, that same kindness had returned in ways I could never have imagined. Sometimes the greatest miracles don't arrive with flashing lights or dramatic moments. Sometimes they simply walk into an emergency room, smile gently, and whisper, "Do you remember me?" And that's why kindness is never wasted. Even when you think no one noticed, even when years pass, every compassionate choice plants a seed that may bloom when someone needs it most. So wherever life takes you, choose kindness. It has a beautiful way of finding its way back, often when your heart needs it the most.